All right, so before we get started, I guess I'll introduce myself for those of you who don't know who I am. My name is Lindsay Bavis-Penney, and I am one of the founders of the Global Gratitude Group, which is an amazingly wonderful group of people who have connected over the like-minded thought to bring joy and practice gratitude and be more positive in this world, because we all know we could use a little more positivity, especially right about now. So that's just a little bit about me. For those of you who are new to here, I'm just gonna let you know this is our first ever virtual workshop. So I'm very thankful that Erin Edwards is joining us here tonight. I'm gonna give you a little rundown on her life and what she's all about and what she's gonna be showing us here today. And but before we begin that, I just wanted to say, make sure you have some water with you. Make sure you have a pen and a pencil and maybe a notebook or sheet of paper with you. We're going to be taking a few little notes, nothing too serious, but quick process. And be sure to keep an open heart. We're all welcoming here, and feel free to share whatever you feel is true in your heart. And keep your questions. We'd like you to keep your questions to the end. However, there may be some spots in the middle where we might ask to share your experiences and things like that, in which case feel free to chime in. We'd love to hear from you. So with that, we'll give you a little bio on Erin and get started. Erin Edwards used to be a lost soul. She lost her father to brain cancer, almost flunked out of university, had sustained not one or two, but 3 major concussions, was grappling with her sexual orientation, and had raging anxiety, which turned her into a binging alcoholic. In the meantime, most people on the outside were jealous of her ability to light up a room and her absolute rock star life. She was high functioning, disconnected, anxious person with 2 degrees in kinesiology and in naturopathic medicine, with a Reiki level 2 practice and a mindfulness coach. One thing that she never noticed was that her light was still shining. Through ill health, grief, depression, confusion, and the dirt that had been with her since conception were still in there, shining away. She realized the misery, the suffering, and the pain of addiction were within her control. They clouded her vision and made her lean on other people and things for comfort, because she couldn't see that her own 2 feet were still on the ground. None of us are immune to life's curveballs, but if she has learned anything, it's that we all still have a lot of work to do, regardless of the person we think we are or who we've become. Regardless of the stories we tell ourselves to make us feel better or worse with each passing day. She currently takes up space in Toronto, owns a newly founded company called Reawaken Co., published her first book this year named A Drink Called Mindfulness, and is happy to continue her entrepreneurial work of unlearning as she teaches others to unwind, unbind, and unleash their true inner selves. And without further ado, I bring to you Erin Edwards to bring us some wonderful, wonderful insight on this awesome topic you have here today.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for showing up and being you and shining your own light. And I hope after this workshop that that light will be a little bit more apparent for you, and that you can look in the mirror in your own eyes and see that. So I am so happy to be joining all of you fantastic people, fantastic humans on this live recording. And this is the first time that I've taught something like amplifying your truth, owning your story, changing your life, that kind of wording, and I really recognize that that's the kind of work that I've been doing for my whole life and just never really noticed. So I'm happy to take on that role and to be in the business of amplification. And what I mean by that is, you know, during COVID, especially this year, I had a kind of rough year, and I looked inside myself and I asked myself the question, you know, what makes me feel inspired? What makes me feel alive? What makes me feel joy? And I just so happened to, you know, run into Global Gratitude on Facebook, and it was such a wealth of wisdom and inspiration for me. And the answer was kind of born through that and through COVID and this pandemic. I developed an online education show called Inspiring Insights that I run, and that's on my YouTube channel. So it's called Reawaken Inspiring Insights. I would love it if you would go and subscribe to that channel. We're on episode 14 right now. We just finished 14 last night. So yeah, I'm happy to share that with you. And that show features practitioners that teach their own genius within the wellness field. And by wellness, and I'm going to say this right at the beginning so y'all know, I mean like natural wellness, kind of things that are outside the medical care scope. And I think that, you know, that is doing really great things for us, especially this year, that model and that framework. But I also feel like we inherited one that was a little bit more patriarchal and maybe not, doesn't serve us all the way through our entire psyche's journey and through our entire body's journey of life and wellness. So I'd love to amplify those voices that are in the natural wellness world. So yeah, I discovered that I absolutely love hearing and sharing the passions of folks in that space. And that includes this gratitude space. And not only the practitioners that I interview, but people like you, people that are doing, you know, some of the most incredible things to guide themselves to a better version of your own life and your own health. So like Lindsay said, I've been coaching for over 10 years. I started off first with high performance athletes. I played a lot of soccer. I grew up in Newfoundland team and all that jazz. And then I went into the personal training realm, did some kinesiology, studied that. And then I moved to Toronto to study naturopathic medicine so that I could include more natural wellness in my coaching repertoire. And yeah, again, as Lindsay mentioned, now I run a health education platform called Reawaken Co. And you can check us out on Instagram there. It's Reawaken_Co. So I can see the comments. I was wondering if I could see them or not, but I would love for you all to be more interactive in this session. I love seeing your comments. I love seeing who's popping in and saying hello and listening. And for everyone who is watching the replay of this as well, I want to share that I feel you and I feel your energy. And thank you so much again for showing up today. So, and as my gift of appreciation, just right from the get-go, I want to offer everyone here a 5-minute downloadable meditation audio, then that can be found on my website. So it's actually just www.book.the.Erin-Edwards. And yeah, I can get Lindsay to include that later in the comments or whatever. So that's a kind of a self-awareness meditation for y'all. And it's just 5 minutes. So, and I'm here to tell you that I'm on the right path. I really think that. And when I started believing that, things started aligning more. And I want you folks to know that you are also on the exact right path wherever you are. And I want to tell you that, you know, I am also committed to teaching mindfulness right now through a diverse lens, as diverse as possible. And that lens emphasizes, you know, interweaving teachings of Turtle Islands, traditional indigenous people's concept. And I came across a concept called Etuaptmumk. This past summer, I actually watched a TED-Talk by Rebecca Thomas on that. And it's the Mi'kmaq concept of two-eyed seeing. And so that seeing is, you know, seeing two sides of the story, enabling yourself to see the full breadth of any situation whenever you encounter, whatever you encounter in this life. So I think Rebecca's voice should be probably heard a little bit louder than mine when it comes to Etuaptmumk, but look it up on YouTube or on TED Talks. It's really good. It's a valuable resource. So what I teach is, you know, more so a living, breathing course, and I honor what it has taught both clients and myself so far. So so often we forget that we practice mindfulness to begin to see, when we don't practice mindfulness, we tend to see it from a very narrow point of view. We see our perspectives, we see our life from very narrow points of view, and we forget that we can expand back into that two-eyed seeing when we do more things like mindfulness and when we practice energy medicine. So I just want to reiterate that. And I want to say also that mindfulness isn't just a practice. It's not something that you just go to or sit down for and do a meditation for 5 minutes. It's a really big way of life for me. And I've had a lot of work to do on my own around that thinking, to change my mindset from practice and results based, because that's what every gym, every, diet culture, paradigm, whatever you want to call it, is based around. And mindfulness is not results based. And I'm really happy about that, because although you do get a lot of positive results, I think it's actually kind of forced me to see that moment by moment, you can see the truth in anything. And as you engage further in the practice, that's a lot more rewarding for me, in the moment rewards, than versus seeing something in the future or seeing something, trying to predict something tomorrow kind of thing. And I just want to say as well that, I'm aware that I'm a queer white woman settler in this health and wellness realm, and to share what has moved me, very deeply in ways that have helped me overcome a lot of the things that Lindsay mentioned, like shame, guilt, addiction, the grief of losing a parent, just losing a parent in general, a lot of blame around that as well. And I talk about a lot of that in my book, A Drink Called Mindfulness. And right now I'm really inviting you to show up however which way you are showing up today. Maybe you are dealing with shame and guilt and addiction, and or maybe you're not. Maybe you just have some anger, or maybe you have whatever. We all got it. It's totally okay. But I really want you to show up in whichever way that you feel is calling you right now. And for me, indigenous cultural practices like, sweat lodges, drum circles, herbal medicines, and the Japanese technique of Reiki, which I will talk about later as well, have really helped me so much in the self-help realm. And I want to share them as resources with you in a way that's really transparent. And I'm aware that my white voice has been privileged with more power, and through colonization and sharing those practices and even getting the chance to learn those opportunities. So it's with humility that I share them. So you're called today here to share your passion and your vision for yourself. Are you not? To own your story, right? Give me thumbs up if you want to, if you're still with me, and if you want to learn together in this space tonight and create that sort of loving environment where you can commit to doing that really deep work, that beautiful work that we all do, and know that you're not alone and you're in the company of others here. So I'm really happy to start that work or continue that work wherever you are. And so
I think it's important also to mention that, this isn't work that, starts right now and ends when we're done this video. This is work that, you have already been doing to get you to this point, and that, you will grow on and continue doing, and hopefully with the information we get from you, add to our tool belt, say, of ways to grow and move forward.
Yes, for sure. Thank you for that. And that's exactly right. You all have tool belt already, and I'm going to say this in a few minutes, but, we're all really born with the ability to be mindful. So I'm happy to engage with you in that. And if that is really deep down inside you and you've never heard about it before, that's okay. And it may come up tonight, so be ready. But tonight we're going to focus really on building your mindful practice and your energy practice. And the more mindful you become, the more able you can see with your own two eyes. So a great analogy that I really like to use is the elastic band concept. And so we have this ability to be containers for our emotions, right? And we think that our physical body is just the container, but it's not. We have auras, we have a lot of other energies around us, and that container expands way, way larger than our physique than what we can see. And the more we work on mindfulness, the brighter that container becomes. And it may or may not expand, but the brighter that container becomes. And I really want to focus on that and emphasize that, because mindfulness gives you a stronger battery. You know, you can actually shine the light on things that you may have forgotten about. You might want to shine light on things that you've swept under the rug for years. You might want to shine light on limiting beliefs, on your blind spots, maybe stuff that you don't even know are there. And so with mindfulness, that stuff will come to the surface, and that's okay, because sometimes it gets worse before it gets better. So know that, you know, and I want to say that, you know, you can do mindfulness and you can dedicate 5 minutes to mindfulness. And if you do that, if you commit yourself to mindfulness for 5 minutes a day, it actually shows back up for you in 5 hours plus, you know, 5, 10, 15 hours plus in your day when you commit to just doing 5 minutes a day. So it's, that's just, I'm so passionate about this. I don't even know where to begin. So yeah, and I just want to touch back on what I said before, which is mindfulness is an ability, and we're all born with that ability. Everyone on earth right now has that ability to access their own intuitive type of mindfulness. So there's not really any wrong way to be mindful, and there's not really any right way to be mindful. It's just whatever you feel is apparent in your truth. And so if nothing else today, you know, please take from this that you can turn your pain into power, because you all have your own intuitive version of mindfulness within you. And so you don't have to be a victim of what happened to you. You don't have to be that person that's constantly pointing the blame on yourself. And the stories, you know, that we tell ourselves are either in direct opposition to that or in direct agreement with those stories. So yeah, that is your personal power. So I just want to say one thing about self-reflection versus self-awareness, because it is something, you know, when people say, I'm getting more in touch with myself, but now I ruminate a whole lot more. And it's such a big question. And I wanted to see if anybody was going to ask it, but I'll just touch on it right now, because there's a difference between self-awareness, which is kind of, you know, that tendency to maintain that objective, general awareness of one's feelings and mental processes. It's almost like an objective point of view. You know, you step back and you see it. Whereas self-reflection is the tendency to really repeatedly focus on yourself. And so that self-reflection in the research has actually been shown to be linked with like neuroticism, excessive rumination, lower self-esteem, higher trait anxiety, those things, depression, social anxiety, guilt, shame, all those things. And when you look at self-awareness in the research, it actually has an inverse relationship with all those things. So, you know, the more self-aware you are, the less anxious you are, the higher self-esteem you have, the less you ruminate. So just a little bit on research there. Anxiety. Yeah, I feel you. I hear you. Anybody anxiety, you know, when you drink and then the next day you're like, blah. Yeah, I feel you there, but I don't drink anymore. Woo, sobriety. So as Lindsay mentioned as well, I hope you all have a piece of paper, a pen, and I want to just start with maybe doing a little bit of breath work. So if you all don't mind, yeah, maybe just take a sip of water, kind of get comfortable. I'm going to do the same. And let's just put our feet on the floor. Or if you're sitting cross-legged, totally okay as well. Just feel that connection between your buttocks and the surface that you're sitting on. And let's just start with taking a really deep breath. And letting it go. And just do that a couple more times. If your eyes haven't closed yet, go ahead and close them. Just let my voice be your guide for now. And as we start to settle in, let's actually form a circle in your mind's eye with everyone that's here right now, with everyone that's joining us. And you can imagine more and more people joining that circle, sharing their energies. And as you see folks joining and sitting down and being more comfortable, start to breathe together as one. And again, feeling that connection between your body and the ground. And feeling the connection we have with our hands resting on our legs. And as we inhale right now, I really want you to think about your own story. Think about that struggle that you're going through. It could be right now, could have been in the past. Think about that pain and just sit with it and breathe with it. And holding it there in your mind's eye, envisioning the circle that we've created. I want you to direct your pain now into the middle of the circle. That circle is a safe space. We're forming a circle around that pain, around that suffering. And because we've directed it toward the middle, we're able to see it a little more clearly now. And you can bow to your pain and come back into your body now, taking a full deep breath. Now we're going to look internally. And from that base of your spine, you're going to start to feel some energy entering. And you're going to recognize that energy as source energy, as all-knowing, as all-loving energy coming up into your spine. And with each breath, it rises up to the next vertebrae. And you're going to allow it, when it gets there, to commune into your heart chakra. So into the center of your chest. We can raise a hand to our chest and really feel what it feels like to have that beautiful, light, loving source energy radiating through us and within us, by us. Inhale it in all the way into your chest. And exhale. And inhale, getting in some of those deep belly breaths as well. And exhale. And feeling very grounded now and possibly warmer or cooler, different sensations. Maybe feeling a slight pull on the corners of your mouth as you allow contentment to fill your physical body. Allowing that source energy now to be directed into the center of the circle again. And you can watch as that source, beautiful, loving light energy interacts with the struggles, with the pains, with the stories that we've left there. And you can let those energies just interact. That's all you're seeing. Just observing. Now, friends, you have done something very powerful here. You've allowed the meeting of two opposing forces. Already, you've stretched your container a little bit wider. Already, you've let a little bit more light in. You've seen with both eyes. And just for now, we're going to let those energies sit there in the center of our circle. Because we have some more work to do. So we're going to inhale one last time. And exhale it out. Those energies are safe in the circle. And as we keep that circle very strong together, let's open your eyes back up. Let's interact with each other once more. Welcome. Now, I want to ask you folks something, and please only feel comfortable. Only do this if you feel comfortable. But can I ask you, is anyone willing to share what they saw as their pain or their struggle?
I can start.
Sure.
A few years back, I was going through a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. At the beginning of the meditation, I was sort of visualizing how I felt in that initial moment, overwhelmed upon hearing the news of that, overwhelmed, and but also trying to make sure everybody else was okay before checking in with myself, and holding all of my real feelings for that in and taking it out on the people that I loved most. Which is very common practice, I feel, with people who are dealing with things. And as I put it in the circle and had it mix with the source energy, it's well, I can take time and I can work with that now, and I can look at it and say, I can also help myself and help other people. It doesn't have to be an either or, and to be easier on the people that I love,
Both are true. Both can simultaneously be true.
Yeah.
And that's not even something we often understand. Or allow.
Mhm.
Thank you, Lindsay, for sharing. And I'll go
Of
one
course.
step further. What role does that struggle have in your day-to-day life? Do you think about it often?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Does it control your life?
Uh, sometimes. Sometimes. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. That need to um put other people first and to minimize my problems because, oh, someone else has it maybe worse than I do, which, is also true. But, that doesn't mean that what I'm struggling with in that moment is any less valid,
Mm-hmm. Got it.
you know?
Yeah, it's an important thing to remember.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. And just so folks are aware, can we agree that this space is, a shared safe space? And we can use this as a learning opportunity and educational purposes. Yeah, I would really appreciate that.
Oh, we
Thank
got
you,
one. We got,
Jessica. Yeah.
thank you, Jessica.
Lindsay, would you mind reading?
Yeah, sure. Jess McLeod says, I've struggled with the loss of loved ones this year, my own grief, and the grief my dad has from losing his wife. My stepmom has been difficult. Love
Yeah,
you too, Jess. Love you so
sounds like a
much.
lot. Thank you, Jess, for sharing that. I appreciate that. And I'm assuming, I mean, it's pretty recent, so um, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that probably has a huge role in your life, right? In your day to day. Yeah. And often we let that control us. And, parts of us, maybe there's times of our lives when it's okay to hand over a little bit of control to that. Yeah. And so I hope that the other folks who haven't shared, thanks, Jessica. Yeah. Um, I hope that you folks, can also identify that pain, that struggle that you shared into the circle with us, whether you did it verbally or in the meditation. And what we're going to do right now is get our pen and paper out and actually go through something that I like to call 7 reasons why. And so this is a little journaling technique that I use. And I can kind of take you through my own example, or maybe Lindsay, we can do your example, which was super helpful. So basically 7 reasons why with this practice is we keep asking ourselves, we keep on going, we keep saying why over and over again until we actually get down to our very core belief of our recurrent thought and behavior patterns. Okay. And this is huge. All of this core belief that we have, if, we might have one, we might have several, but some of them are negative and they really, really impact everything we do, down to our attitudes, down to our thoughts, and then obviously our actions follow suit from that. So I would love it if we could go through that, maybe with you, Lindsay.
Sure.
Okay, great. Okay, so your pain was your diagnosis, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about why that was painful. Let's do the first why. And folks, if you have your pain point as well, you can go through this. Just ask yourself why. And maybe if there's not enough time, you can also do this practice later on your own. Do you mind sharing?
That, yeah, oh, I love sharing. It's
Okay.
just, emotional.
Yeah.
When I was diagnosed, especially with a disease like multiple sclerosis, which is usually a degenerative condition, you kind of have that feeling of like your life as you thought it was to be, flashing before your eyes, and having to immediately be replaced by this brand new whole world, basically, of, well, fatigue is going to limit you, and, well, you're going to have days where you're not going to get out of bed, and it spirals from there. But yeah, it was just really, I guess, a resistance of the new normal that was to be my life.
Okay.
And a kind of a mourning of what I thought my life was always going to be like.
Totally. Yeah. There's grief in that, right? There's grief in a lot of different ways, not just in interpersonal relationships, but in the ways that we formulate relationships at all with anything. Thank you for that. Yeah. Okay. So we'll take that second why. Why? That actual grief. Sorry for laughing, but that actual grief, why do you think that came up for you? That grief of that new normal, that resistance?
Well, because it has been my struggle since the day that I was diagnosed. I don't think, I really don't think that I have, even still to this day, fully, and I've been diagnosed, what, 6 years now? And I still don't think I've fully have been able to move forward with the fact that I've been diagnosed with MS. And yeah.
Okay. So the permanency of that might be something.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Can you ask yourself another why in what's coming up for you now? Why that continued pain? And if it's so much,
no,
you don't have to answer.
No. I just need that moment to look in. Yeah, I think it's the not knowing. I was, I've always been a person rooted in knowing things, and if I don't know something, I can look it up and find the answer super quick. But this is just something that I really have, there's no way for me to identify the trajectory, because there are so many.
Yeah.
Where am I going? So my only solution, obviously, currently now that I'm working on, is becoming present, so that I can live more in the moment, so that I'm not thinking about all the things.
Yeah. And why that illusion of control? Or, maybe it wasn't an illusion. Maybe it is something that we really want. Why is that?
That's a good question.
Maybe we'll pause there for
the $1 million question.
Hey, the $1 million question. Yeah. With the interest of time as well, and I don't mean to cut it off, but so this is where it goes, right? You think about really one statement that you answer that question, why, and then you ask that again, you why, and really, I mean, for me, I can share a little bit. It's my relationship to alcohol comes up for me, and when I ask myself why is that coming up, I think my relationship to my father was really shitty when I was young and when he died. And why? Because I saw that he had left me, that was the way that I viewed it. And I was grieving that hole that was left there. And so why? Because alcohol filled it. I turned to alcohol. There was no one else for me. I felt that there was no one else around, even though there was, but rationally I knew that, but I had to turn to something. And so you keep asking yourself, why? And I mean, eventually, if I can be really honest with everyone, I got myself to a point where I said, I'm afraid to let go of that external validation. And that was how I, really identified if someone loved me, or if something loved me, or if I loved something, who was I without that thing? Who was I without that external validation? And why, again, maybe the final why, or maybe a bonus why, was that I really found out that I felt that I was nothing. I felt unworthy. I wasn't worthy of attention. I wasn't worthy of love on my own. I felt absolutely like trash, like nothing, like an insignificant piece of dust. And, that practice really opened my eyes, because I never knew that. I kept asking myself why. I was like, okay, whatever. And then when I actually wrote it down and like put it into words and onto paper, and I saw it and I looked at it in front of me, like we just did with the circle, I said, oh, okay, so that's what I'm struggling with. I'm not struggling with an addiction to alcohol. I'm struggling with self-love, self-worth, right? And those types of problems come up in my Reiki sessions all the time. People could be struggling with something, or have lost a loved one or whatever, and all of a sudden it triggers it triggers in them something else completely, but they're thinking that it's because of that, right? And so there's something else going on behind the scenes. And with mindfulness and practices, you can actually turn and look at that. So I hope you folks all get a chance to do a little bit more why, and maybe if you need some support with that, feel free totally to reach out to me at any point. My Facebook name now, and I'll share with you some other Instagram contacts and stuff later. But so now that we've opened up a new layer of our understanding of why we do what we do and why we feel pain, and we can really use that knowledge, use our own knowledge of mindfulness and chakras to enable us to sit there with that pain. And holding pain is really important objectively. And I say that very, very differently than holding pain actually, because, well, we do it subconsciously, and it just it becomes dense in our bodies, right? So holding it away from us is really important. So, allowing it into the center of that circle, and really allow your pain, whatever that is. Maybe it's changed since a couple minutes ago or whatever, since we did that practice, but, allow that pain to step inside that center of the circle, and allow the synergies of everyone else's love to connect with that as well. Okay, it's not just your own, because sometimes it's really hard to feel love at all, to feel that light, to feel source. And that's not always easy to get there. So, you don't even need to know a lot about chakras to begin to feel your energy, or to begin to feel okay, and to begin to turn your eye and look different, or look differently, but also look different maybe. So there's 7 main energy chakras of the body. And all I mean by chakras is that they're the centers of the body, the energy sources. And that's where the source light comes in to us. So, they start from the base of the spine and they go all the way up to the top of our head. So there's 7 major ones basically on our torso and in our head. You can think of it like almost like the nervous system, like from the brain all the way down to the bottom of the spine. And so just as we have a physical body, we also have this luminous energy field around us. Okay, so chakras actually just means like spinning wheels. So there's spinning wheels of light coming out of us, out of our physical body, that we just can't see with our own eyes. And some people can, and some people can develop that skill. So let's take our hands now, and we're going to do a practice. We're going to do 2 practices of affirmation. And that just means we're going to affirm something, but it's also going to open up our chakras. And two specific ones, which I find really relate to amplifying your own truth and owning your story, the sacral chakra and the throat chakra. So, so important. So right now we're just going to take our hands, put them together like this, and we're just going to rub them. We're going to rub it. We're going to feel a lot of energy, a lot of heat production coming through. Yes, nice. You all feel it? You all feel it? All right. So what we're going to do now, take one hand and we're going to put it on our sacral chakra. So I don't know if you can see, but our sacral, so here's my belly button. The sacral is just below your belly button, almost kind of like right where your pant line is. Okay. So one hand on the front, other hand on the back at about the same level. Okay. So, and both your palms are kind of facing inward, like around your body. Okay, so this is a sacral chakra activation, chakra activation. Okay, so this part is obviously, like I said, located in the center of the abdomen, excuse me, kind of between the navel and like your genital area. And this chakra really represents our feminine traits, okay? Our ability to sit with our emotions, our softness, our patience, our sexuality, our intimacy. And a lot of us have, like it or not, we struggle with these. So the element of the sacral chakra is water. And I just want you to imagine that water flowing out like a spiral out of that area, okay, into both of our hands. So outward in front of us, outward behind us. And the sacral chakra really governs our interpersonal relationships, relationships in general. So not just interpersonal, but how we relate to everything, to every thought, every belief, everything that we have or think we have in the world, every action we take. The sacral chakra has a lot to do with that. So it's also our center for pleasure, emotion, sensations, and it's associated with the moon, like it or not, which pulls and pushes the oceans, pulls and pushes our periods, etc. In that really dualistic motion of back and forth. So it actually translates, the Sanskrit word for the sacral chakra is svadhisthana, and so svad, it means like one's own abode, and actually the root word of svad is sva, and that means like to taste sweet or to taste with pleasure. And so a lot of times when we're having sacral chakra issues, we forget to taste the sweetness of life. In North America, we say like stop and smell the roses. How often do we do that? I think it was Einstein who also said, creativity is intelligence having fun. And how often, do we just stop and have fun? We're always thinking about like studying and learning. So let's have fun here, okay? And I'm going to get you folks to repeat after me this affirmation. It's only 4 lines. Okay, so I acknowledge right here and right now.
I acknowledge right here and right now
that my relationship to myself hasn't always been easy.
That my relationship to myself hasn't always been easy.
And now I know it is my birthright.
And now I know it is my birthright
to receive pleasure and have all my needs met.
To receive pleasure and have all my needs met.
I give my creativity permission to flow through me freely.
I give my creativity permission to flow through me freely.
I am grateful for the joy of being me.
I am grateful for the joy of being me.
I know maybe a couple of you like hiccuped on some parts of that. And that's totally fine. I'm going to send this affirmation to Lindsay so she can, I can post it too in the group later. So that's just a quick affirmation for the sacral chakra. Now, every time we hold our hands together, we activate that sacral chakra or wherever chakra, but on the sacral specifically just then. So I want to say a word on the connection between our sacral chakra and our throat chakras, because that's really important. And our throat is so necessary for speaking our truth. Okay. So one, you have to connect with yourself and your relationships, which is the sacral. And then your throat is really about speaking that and expressing it, and, you know, connecting with your most authentic self, amplifying, if you will, your message, your light, your love, your purpose for the world. So the throat chakra is the fifth chakra, and that's associated with communication, being true to oneself. You know, it's represented by sound, which makes sense, and the color blue. So the Sanskrit name for the throat chakra is Visuddha, and that actually means to purify or pure. And so it's, you know, to express, to get everything out. And when we don't express, we know what happens: anger, etc. It all bubbles up inside of us. So, you know, this center is all about self-expression, vibration, creativity, communication, all those things that center around, you know, creation, but also transmitting that and receiving it as well. So transmitting it and receiving it, both within ourselves. And it's so funny because it's like, I'm a science geek. So the thyroid gland is located in your throat as well. Okay. Like right in the throat chakra. And the thyroid really directs communication between your hormones within your own body. And then what do so many of us have issues with today? The thyroid. And I think because we are blocked in our throat, we don't fully express ourselves out, and we don't necessarily receive communication as well as maybe we could, or when we actually sit down and do it, we really could receive it better. So you know, anything that has anything to do with expression here. So speaking, writing, chanting, telepathy, you know, being clairvoyant, being clairsentient, being an empath. It's all to do with do with your throat chakra. So I also just want to say that music is like a really interesting way. Like, like, I'm one of those people that doesn't really cry, and then when I hear a song, I'm like, ugh, like just immediately. And it's so crazy because music is on like a different vibration, a different vibrational frequency than even like spoken word, right? So there's something about music and music notes and actually seeing symbols, like reading music, that's really interesting and helps with the throat chakra. So anyway, naturally, I digress. There's a duality connection kind of between the sacral chakra and our throat chakra. So, and I would say that the sacral really represents the more feminine aspects of how we relate. And you can remember that just because our ovaries are like down there, or even just their genitalia, you know, that like receiving, kind of more feminine stuff. And then the throat represents the more masculine of how we relate. So, you know, what we're actually doing, like what we're saying, what we're, when we're presenting a slideshow, when we're acting the part, you know, when we're on stage, when you're yelling at your partner, singing a song, whatever. And those are more outward expressions of our relatability to things and places and people. So as you may relate, our kind of patriarchal society has all but really stunted our full expression and our ability to outwardly express ourselves and our creativity. And you may feel very strongly connected to that as I say it and resonate with what I'm saying here. Or if you don't, maybe just think of in terms of like your ancestral involvement with the patriarchy and like how we've gotten this far, and how many times someone in your family or yourself wasn't heard in your own truth, and how often someone's completely shut out, you know, ostracized, bullied, scorned, burned, you know, mutilated, anything else, harassed, murdered, etc. There's so many things that we that have happened to us in the past, genetically and in the future. And now it's so crazy. I love it. I love thinking about time. But you know, we need not look really very far to, especially this year, to see that this type of behavior is really indeed still here, you know, and still very much alive in our world, and it's happening right under our noses. So, yeah, as Maya Angelou once said, once you know better, you do better. So this can be as simple as taking individual responsibility and starting today for this. So now that we've shone our lights a little bit brighter, maybe in our little containers, in our shadow side, let's continue to do that, and let's affirm it again. So I have another affirmation to activate your throat chakra, and I would say practice these on the daily for the next like 20 days. Just do it. Just see if you can do it. Things will change for you dramatically. 21 days specifically, but I'll give it to you for 20 days, including today. How about that? Okay, so same thing again. You're going to rub your hands together, feeling that energy. Ba-da-ba-ba, throat chakra. Okay, and so one hand on the front, one hand on the back. And repeat after me. I acknowledge right here and right now.
I acknowledge right here and right now
that my ability to express myself clearly hasn't always been easy.
That my ability to express myself clearly hasn't always been easy.
And now I know it is safe.
And now I know it is safe
to share my own wisdom and experiences.
To share my own wisdom and experiences.
I am an important voice in the world, and my voice is heard.
I am an important voice in the world, and my voice is heard.
I am grateful to live in my truth.
I am grateful to live in my truth.
Nice. Ooh.
Anybody
want to share anything about that? Did anything come through with any of those? You know, the sacral chakra activation or the throat chakra? I'm intrigued. So
they just really resonated with me for sure. For sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm aware of the time. I know like this stuff is just so, I'm really into this and I could just talk for hours. So I do apologize if someone is just sitting there at like 10 p.m. Newfoundland time, whatever time it is there, like trying to just activate chakra. Oh, it's good. It's good. Okay, so you can just rewatch this on like double time, you know, whatever. So I really want you to think now, and this will be kind of our last practice, to you know, what part of your story do you still need to own? And that might be the part that's there in the circle interacting with your love right now. Maybe the part is not even uncovered yet. Maybe it still feels too raw or too emotional, you know, maybe too disconnected. And that's okay. And the more that you work on it, the more things will surface, like I said. And like I said, taking, you know, the time to be mindful every day, even just 5 minutes. With that 5-minute self-awareness practice that I shared with you folks earlier, you know, maybe that can be the first step for you, because that will really open up 5, 10, 15 more hours of mindfulness in your day that you don't even have to think about it anymore. You just do 5 minutes here and there, and then all of a sudden it becomes a practice. So one last exercise, and this is just maybe a stream of consciousness esque journal that I wanted to finish off with, was, you know, really just, actually, maybe I'll leave you with that. I'll explain it and then we'll go and we'll say goodbye, because I want you to like really just do, yeah, you know, use your hands and like just blah, 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 just don't think, just like write. And that's literally all a stream of consciousness journaling is. So I'll leave you to that for your homework. How about that? And I just wanted to also kind of open this space for questions, or well, before we do that, I want to close the circle. But if folks do have questions or anything like that, and I would love to hear them out. So why don't we do this? We will just close the circle and then do a little meditation, and then everybody can kind of come back and recenter. Cool?
Sounds good.
All right. So, all right, let's do that. So we've activated our chakras. Let's get a little bit more aware of where we are in space now, and if our energy feels a bit different than what it did an hour ago. And just starting with a big inhale. Coming back into that circle. Watching everyone else sitting down. And let's pick up right where we left off of sharing that love. Tapping in, feeling our feet on the ground, feeling our spines maybe on the ground or the base of our spines, our sits bones. Opening up your palms now and letting them relax on your legs. Regrounding and recentering. Deep breath in, inhaling all that love that's in the center of the circle. Feeling that white light. Feeling that. And now watching it as you see the love entering into each person's body once more. And as you inhale again, feeling that light entering your own body again. And you're surprised to see that the pain that you left in the center of the circle is no longer there. There's only love. That love has transmuted the parts of our story that maybe didn't make sense to us or made a lot of painful sense to us. That white light has really transmuted that pain, that struggle, and has washed it away down the drain. And know that your story no longer has to be the way it was. Just from this workshop from 1 hour ago, you no longer have to be the victim of what's happened. You can take this love because it is all abundant, always there for you. And now it's mixed with everyone else's love. Take that and be free. And allowing that white light to enter into any parts of your body that feel maybe a little bit, stressed or stuck still. Just invite it in. You don't have to notice any changes right now, but invite that love in, invite that light in. And know that it will be there, working its magic for the next 21 days. Friends, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This has truly been, I'm here in my post-meditation state, so still a little bit, hazy-eyed from all the visualization that wasn't coming from my eyes. I'd like to thank you on behalf of everybody in our group. and express my sincerest gratitude for you coming on tonight and sharing so much knowledge with us and so many strategies that we can take and use every day and just continue this work that we started here. Thank you, Jess, for tuning in. Thank you, Mel. Thank you, everybody else who came in. And if you listened, if you popped in for a second, if you're going to rewatch, thank you for sharing your energy here tonight and for sharing your stories. And even just for visualizing your stories, if you didn't share them with us, we thank you so much for participating.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here and showing up as your true self. And I so appreciate that wherever you're at right now. That's you.
Awesome. Well, we will look forward to your post regarding all of the affirmations we've talked about and some of your ways that we could follow you for people who are interested. Sure. And we will look forward to further posts and keeping the gratitude going. Thank you again so much. And everybody, to everybody who's watching, have a great night. Have a peaceful night. Have a loving night. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you. And if any folks have questions as well, you can email me at hello@reawakenco. That's just CO. So reawakenco.com. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Erin.